Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all, best MCU villain.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it.
You know what?
You're right. We got this.
Good morning, Hal.
Well, good morning, Mark.
How are you? Good morning, listeners.
How you doing? Welcome to Down on the Farm with Mark and Hal, where we go over livestock reports, the weather for the next few days, and how the dairy market's looking.
Basically, you just described a boring version of Welcome to Night Vale. Hey, do you like Welcome to Night Vale, but you think too much happens?
Do you, have we talked about RFD TV on this podcast before?
No. What's RFD TV?
Well, Mark, it's rural America's most important network.
Mm-hmm.
It is a television network that is designed for farmers.
Mm-hmm.
It is available if you have DirecTV. I believe it's still available that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a lot of great shows on it. There's Down Under Horsemanship with Chris Cox. There's Campfire Cafe.
Please tell me you're not reading this off of anything right now. You just know these.
I swear to you, this is off the top of my head. Dutch Oven Cooking.
That's when you cook breakfast in bed and then pull the covers over your head and fart, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's how you cook the meal.
Yeah.
Blanket farts. There's Big Jimmy Stir's Polka Hour. There's a lot of Penny
Is that real?
specials. Oh, for real.
The Polka Hour is real?
Yeah,
look, I don't want to look, farmers are going through enough right now.
They are.
Don't you know there's a trade war on? Be nice to farmers.
I am. I used to obsessively watch this network when I had DirecTV.
Oh my God.
And, Jordan Crane had it at his place, and I would go over and we would sit and watch it. Wow. It's amazing the programming that's on here. That when they do the livestock auctions, that part didn't really interest me as much.
Yeah.
Cause I don't buy
That's normal. That's normal farming stuff.
You know, it's a look for a city boy into what is important to people who do not live in a very different place than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And the entertainment stuff was insane.
Yeah. Well, also farmers have different tastes as an excuse for you to put your polka show on.
Look, I like the music I like. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed to love a good polka.
Look, there's some good polkas out there. Look, you know the music I listen to, and I am unashamed of my Andrew Lloyd Webber collection.
That's right.
I just bought the Cats album on vinyl the other day.
I hope it's from the upcoming movie.
No, I wish. That upcoming movie looks awesome. I don't care what anyone says. I think that movie looks great. Everyone's like, this movie looks terrible. And I'm like, no, man. This movie has Black Superman as prancing around as a cat. And also has one of the greatest songs in the musical theater canon. I am in. Is
he McCavity? Is that the cat that he is?
I don't know. I just know I saw him in the trailer and I was like, what? Come on, Idris. Like, I'm gonna love this movie and still know that you're better than this.
The only way I'll see that movie is if I see it with you. And unfortunately, you're gonna be in another part of the world.
I will fly home and watch that movie with you.
Okay, fine. I'll hold you to it. If you fly home, I'll go see it with you.
Okay. I will fly home for a visit to watch the Cats movie.
I'll pick you up from the airport. Fly to LAX. I'll pick you up from the airport. We'll go right to the movie theater, and then I'll drop you off and you'll go back. But we're not here to talk about horrifying Broadway adaptations, Mark.
That's my line.
It's opposite day.
No. Best MCU villain.
Oh no, you took my job. I didn't think this through.
Yeah, right? Today we're talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe Rogues Gallery of Villains.
Yes. Thank you, Joseph Pullen, for the suggestion.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I love these movies. I know you love these movies. There's one that I have not seen yet. I know. Mm-hmm. Shame on my Marvel Cinematic Universe loving butt that I have not seen Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. That's
Turn Off the Dark. Yeah, that's right. Arachne we're going to talk about.
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yes. We will briefly discuss Mysterio, but in a non-spoiler way. And
also he's not going to win.
Yeah, spoiler for everyone listening. He is not the winner of this topic.
Yeah.
For sure. Although he is, I would put him in the top, I might put him in the top 5. I might put him in the top 5. partially from the, I think to dig in a little bit into how we would decide something like this, I think part of it has to be based on the quality of the performance and how it's written. But I think there has to be some, I don't know, faithfulness to the comic or translation from the comics where you go, oh, I can see something that they ripped straight from the pages. I think that can be important. And there is a sequence that brings up exactly how we would judge something like this anyway. I think part of it is the strength of the performance, which Jake Gyllenhaal gives a great performance. And another, the strength of how the character is written, which traditionally for the MCU has been an issue. They have had overall kind of a villain problem, that the villains kind of seemed like a bad version of the superhero.
Yeah. Or just someone to get in the way of whatever story they're trying to tell to build this up.
Exactly. They're not always really that important to the story. I think it's important when they are. And the third part is, are there portions of it, or at least the spirit of it, that feels like it really captures something from the comic books in an important way? And to stay free of spoilers, I think Jake Gyllenhaal gives a fantastic performance in this movie. He's like obviously came ready to play. It's brilliantly written, and there is a sequence that feels like it could have been ripped straight from the comics. And I went into that movie thinking, how are they going to pull Mysterio off in a film, like in a convincing way? And they really did it, and they throw the audience off balance in a way that only Mysterio can. So great performance, definitely a top villain, but not the top villain. And now we've discussed Mysterio without spoiling the movie for you.
Well, you've spoiled it enough to say that he's a villain, because in the first, I knew that, but I mean, that's just saying that he's a villain is a spoiler.
Did you really not figure it out until I sent you this list just so you'd have it for reference? Did you?
I thought
you did not know?
No, I didn't know.
Wow. Who did you think the villain was? The Elementals?
I didn't know. I thought maybe Europe as a whole. Like just the concept of Europe is the villain. Spider-Man is a friendly neighborhood American Spider-Man.
Yeah, he wears red and blue.
Yeah, and he's white.
Yeah, and he's white. Or has whites of his eyes. Yeah. It's Miles Morales.
That's true.
Who wears black and red.
Yeah.
It's fine. Or he could be a navy blue. Listen, we'll take whatever we could get.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about it because, I mean, look, it's my fault for not having seen it yet, now that it's nearly out of theaters. But did I tell you about the crazy experience that I had with Spider-Man Far From Home with the recording of the soundtrack?
I tell me again.
That we got
Tell everybody here.
Oh, man. Listeners, this is very exciting. My buddy Aaron and I got to go listen, thanks to Michael Giacchino for hooking this up. We got to go and listen to them record the suite, like the big, where like the overture. The suite's like the overture for a movie that they play at the end in the credits a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And we heard them record that, and also that beginning opening of the MCU with dun 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 layered over the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that something special was about to happen. Michael didn't tell us what was going to happen right then. He just said, go in the big orchestra room. So we're sitting there in this giant, or like with the world's best musicians. And Michael comes in, pulls out his phone and starts recording. And I'm like, okay, when the composer comes into the orchestra giant recording studio, pulls out his iPhone and starts recording it, something cool is about to happen. And that was when they played those opening notes. And I got chills up my arms.
So
man, it was so freaking cool. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because the nerd in me was very excited about that day.
No, I'm mega jealous, but also happy for you at the same time.
Super fun.
That is awesome story.
But it's not Mysterio.
It is not Mysterio.
Who may or may not be a villain.
It was not not even that day was it spoiled for you.
Yeah. No, not even that day. So you mentioned, and this is a good place to start, is what criteria are we using? You mentioned the strength of the performance and the importance to the story. You already mentioned the strength of the performance and the importance to the story. I'd like to add villainy and complexity as two criteria. And I think that's a good quartet to go with. Strength of the performance, their where they fit in the story, their villainy, and their complexity.
That sounds good.
We could also go with general handsomeness, because there's Thanos is pretty ripped minus his grimace chin.
I mean, it's a good looking set of villains,
Yeah, it is. Well,
Everybody-
it's movies.
except for with the exception of the Red Skull, and even he's got sort of a handsomeness to him,
Sure.
even though he's grotesque.
Yeah.
There's something to that
except,
look. Like,
so they're all handsome except Mickey Rourke.
Skull Daddy. Yeah, Mickey Rourke. Mickey
He's a
Rourke's the
skull
one
daddy.
of all of the characters that you would not want your child to date.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely Whiplash. You can tell he smells like stale cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah. And also and his obsession with his bird, which I believe was Mickey Rourke's contribution.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good. That's a good contribution. Oh, yeah. I think he should have a bird.
Yeah. All right. Sure, Mickey. Whatever. Ugh. Should we just go through these and talk about them in chronologically, or do we want to give some honorable mentions to people that are not
Sure.
going to win, or how do you want to do it?
I think I don't want to get into this thing where we talk about every single villain.
Well, let's
I feel
go.
like
Let's
when I-
go
when I give you-
chronologically. Let's go chronologically, and then ask if we need to talk about that villain.
Okay, let's start with 2008's Iron Man and Obadiah Stane, who I believe Warmonger is his name. I think that, or no, Ironmonger. That's
Ironmonger.
right. Just a giant, overpowered, more militarized version of the Iron Man suit. It's Jeff Bridges, who I don't think Jeff Bridges I don't think I've ever seen him in a movie and thought he's just phoning this in.
No, he's always fun and exciting.
Yeah. That said, this movie is about Robert Downey Jr. becoming Iron Man.
Mhm.
It's not really about Warmonger. It felt like they had to have a villain in there, and they
Mhm.
didn't want to spoil Mandarin. I think is probably his biggest villain. It's the
Mhm.
one I most associate with him. And they reference Mandarin a little bit
Mhm.
with the idea of the 10 rings. But they didn't want to use him in that movie. It's easier to have it be like, all right, well, the bad guy is just a bigger Iron Man.
Yeah. So, do we need to talk about him?
No.
Okay.
Then, we have 2008's The Incredible Hulk
Mhm.
and Emil Blonsky, aka Abomination.
Which is the exact same thing, but Hulk version.
Yeah, played by Tim Roth.
Yeah. Bad human, wants to be superhero, does what superhero does to get same powers as superhero. In this case, it's not building a bigger suit. It's being a bigger Hulk. And then they have a big fight at the end.
Yeah.
Tim Roth, great actor, a lot of fun, but it's just sort of a generic military bad guy.
Yeah. There's a great reference
Mhm.
of a villain to come in The Incredible Hulk, which I would have loved to see, which was Timothy Blake Nelson as the leader, the
Mhm.
scientist who Bruce Banner's been communicating with, who has a portion of the Hulk's blood drop into I think a cut on his head, and you see his head start to mushroom and expand. And that is him becoming the leader, although they never come back to it. And I think because of rights issues, we're never going to get another Hulk standalone movie until that's resolved.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's not it's a good performance, but it just,
Yeah.
that movie.
Let's get to the good ones. Let's get to the fun ones.
All right. Iron Man 2, Whiplash.
No,
my board.
Whiplash sucks.
Give me my board.
I want my board.
I want my board.
I mean, he does have the one, very cool shot of him with his whips walking
On the racetrack?
walking on the racetrack. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the other villain in that movie is more compelling, which is, Justin Hammer, played by Sam Rockwell, who
Who
an
is
evil.
perfect.
Yeah. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
It does feel like he and Mickey Rourke are two different movies.
Mm-hmm. Like Mickey Rourke he doesn't feel like the bad guy. He feels like the muscle to the bad guy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. After this, I think the next.
Are we
movie
done?
after-
Are we, look, cause I want to talk a little more about Sam Rockwell. I'm not
Oh,
quite
you want to
done.
talk more about Justin Hammer? All right.
I want
let's
to talk about Justin Hammer
Go
because
ahead.
Justin Hammer to me he may not be on the Mount Rushmore of great Marvel villains,
Mhm.
but as a foil for Tony, he is so perfect
Yes.
because he knows how to get under. He's also he does the same job that Tony did. He is a rich, military weapons creator.
Yeah, he's an arms dealer.
And it is Sam Rockwell at his smarmy Sam Rockwell best. just chewing up scenery. And when he has his moments of one-upping Tony Stark, he's really fun in those moments. And he's really fun in the moments where he is getting his comeuppance from Tony Stark. Like, he's basically Margaret Dumont in a Marx Brothers movie in that courtroom scene. Oh my goodness. Oh, he's so fun. I just wanted to not make sure we didn't give him short shrift, because of the villains in Iron Man 2, Whiplash can get bent. It's all about Hammer for me.
He's still out there too. I mean, it's possible Justin Hammer could show up again. I know we no longer have our current Iron Man, but it's possible that his daughter could take over the mantle. There have been other people to wear the suit, and the idea that Justin Hammer has been out there plotting revenge, it's never far away. I'm sure he's someone who is discussed from time to time. I'm sure they have a lot of conversations creatively where they're like, all right, who's out there?
Yeah. Who can we play with?
Yeah. Who can we play with? And he's someone they can play with. Next we have one of our contenders, 2009's Thor, which brought us Tom Hiddleston as Loki.
Absolutely a contender
to play. He has a Disney Plus series coming out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cause he is very dead in the movies.
Is he though?
I think
a version of him is dead. Another version of him escaped using the Space Stone in Endgame.
Oh.
So there are a lot of rumors that it's going to be based on that it's going to be like a quantum leap where he's setting things wrong instead of setting them right.
Loki does quantum leap. Like each week he jumps into a different mid-20th century tertiary character.
Yes. He's constantly just messing with the timeline, which might lead him to, because that version of Loki, Loki, you mentioned complexity.
Yeah. And I mentioned complexity with Loki in mind.
Yeah.
Because you know what he is doing. You know why he is doing it. You understand why he is doing it. His motivations are the basest motivations in all of us. He just happens to also be, an Asgardian and can really mess things up for humans if he wants to.
Yeah.
It's funny to even think of him as a villain, because I'm like, yeah, but by the end of the MCU run up to Endgame, by the end of it, he's, as he will always be, I guess, kind of a scoundrel, but, in the way Catwoman is a scoundrel with her own set of values. But she's not always a permanent villain. Like Thor and Loki have teamed up and are helping people by the time Loki is killed in the MCU timeline.
Sure. And that's sort of the story of Loki, is sometimes he's a villain, sometimes he's a hero, but he's always looking out for himself.
Yeah.
And he's a wounded child, especially in these films. A lot of people bag on the original Thor. I think it's a very good movie, and I think it's a very important movie. And having Kenneth Branagh as the director was brilliant, because he's got these world-class actors. And he finds
and a Shakespearean story.
Yes, exactly. And he really milks that. And it's something that Tom Hiddleston carries with him every time he plays the role. So the character evolves. But even in the Avengers, which is him at his worst, there are still tears and still moments of weakness. And you can see how hurt he is from the events of the original Thor, that he feels like he should be in charge, that he knows there's a part of him that constantly wants to be good enough. And being sort of a bastard child who was raised, everything in his upbringing was a lie.
What's the thing? He's part Kree or he's part Frost Giant?
He's a Frost Giant.
Gotcha.
He was supposed to be the king of the Frost Giants, or leader of the Frost Giants. At least that's where he's from. He was abandoned and brought in by Odin and raised as his own.
I think this checks off all four of these boxes to the highest. If we're going 1 through 10 on each of these four criteria, he's a 10 in all four. Now, he's not a 10 in villainy, because he does have times when he's a good guy. But in complexity and importance to the story and in the strength of the performance from Tom Hiddleston, he's perfect. I can't imagine anyone else playing Loki.
Yeah, he's by far a finalist. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have this conversation without him being a finalist. I do want to bring up one other villain from the Hulk, who we skipped over, which is General Thunderbolt Ross.
Thunderbolt Ross is his name?
His nickname is Thunderbolt.
I was going to say that, that name is Like when you use like your street name and your family and like your mom's maiden name to make your, apparently to make your MCU name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your pet's first name.
But like, what's his name? Obadiah Mean or something like
Obadiah Stane is
Obadiah Stane. Like all of these names are good on Marvel for having lunacy names for some of these characters.
Exactly. God bless the comics industry.
Mm-hmm.
Thunderbolt Ross is really the Hulk's main villain. He's the guy who's chasing him everywhere.
He's the military guy
and he has something personal against Bruce Banner because Bruce Banner was dating his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really a concerned dad under all of it. But by Civil War, he's also one of the main villains there because he's the one who's introducing the Sokovia Accords and pushing that through his secretary.
Oh, I didn't realize. I never made that
state.
connection that's what's happening.
Yeah,
well, we had our conversation about the Sokovia Accords. He's not in the wrong 100%.
It's certainly debatable. He's
it's debated.
Yes. He's someone who thinks he's coming from a good place, but I think he's misguided.
Yeah.
At best is misguided.
Yeah.
So, he's worth discussing. I don't think he's a finalist either. I don't think they ever really developed into that point, but he's a great presence and it's a fantastic performance by William Hurt, who is an honest to goodness Marvel Comics fan. I think that was a big thrill for him to get to play General Ross.
Yeah. So for that, like, that's one fun thing to think about too. Like, who is a legit fan of this stuff and is like, yeah, I will absolutely play that. Give me this, like Stephen Colbert when he was like, give me the tiniest part of a Hobbit in the town, just so he could be in a Hobbit movie. So there's something fun in that. Like, if there's one cinematic world that you could jump into and be a part of, what is it?
Like, would it be Star Wars or
would
the
it be
MCU?
Star Wars? I guess are those the two choices? You're like, it'll be one of these two. It's not the Grinchiverse.
Yeah.
Or Universal's, Dark Universal.
Oh yeah.
Which they've already eliminated. Like,
it's already been scrapped.
Everything doesn't have to be a cinematic universe. You can just make movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would want to be part of the Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers. Seemed colorful. Seemed nice.
Now you get to pick one. You can only pick one. Flash answer. It would not be the Cat in the Hat.
I'd like to be in the MCU.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of cool. But I think I'd want to be more important than just me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Being in the MCU would be cool because in Star Wars they don't have iPhones and I use my phone a lot. All right. Who's next?
Next is...
Also, life is pretty bleak for most of the characters in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Most of the characters in the MCU are just normal people. A bunch of kids on a high school trip to Europe. That sounds way more fun than, combing the sand for parts to scrap units.
Did you ever go on a trip to Europe? Did you ever go on like a class trip like that?
I never went on the class trip to Europe. I didn't go to Europe until 3 years ago, was my first trip. And then I've been back since because I just love it there.
Yeah.
But it was, I went for a wedding and then toured around. I did dance in the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Dublin in 1995. So I didn't go to
school performance.
I didn't go to mainland Europe. No, that was part of Kids Unlimited, my show choir.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that the one where you're singing Hound Dog?
Yeah, but it wasn't school. This I did on purpose on my own time. Yeah. I put on a sequin bow tie and cummerbund for like 6 years.
Uh-huh.
And sang Surfing USA in foreign countries.
And then as soon as you were done, you could go right to work at TGI Fridays because you're wearing the uniform.
If they had sequin bow ties, I will eat at any restaurant where the servers have sequin bow ties.
Really? Even if it's got, that seems like every place that would do that would have a PJs on the front, like PJ McGillicuddy's. PJ O'Donoghue's.
Did I tell you about my dad? God love him. He keeps finding restaurants that he loves in, when he comes to visit us in our respective cities, me, my brother and sister, and does not realize that they are chains. And I feel so bad. Like I watched a grown man become crestfallen when I informed him that Buca di Beppo was not a single restaurant in Chicago with a lot of neat knickknacks. And And my sister and I, we were in DC, and he wanted to go to his favorite place in DC, which is his favorite bar. It's right by the White House. Very exciting for him to, you're in the middle of it all. It's this restaurant, and it's got a great bar and great food. It's called PJ Clark's. And there are PJ Clark's in many cities around the country.
I think I've heard of that place.
Yeah. And when my dad said, he was like, yeah, and he's going off on this singular restaurant in DC that he loves called PJ Clark's. Very historical place. My sister and I both turned to each other and each to one another said, don't you dare tell him.
I'm just excited for, I hope he comes to Pensacon in 2020.
So you can convince him that TGI Fridays is a Pensacola landmark.
I just want him to walk in and go, hey, Mark, I went to a great place. It's like fast casual dining. They bring you food super fast. You can even get it from your car. It's called McDonald's. I think it's Scottish food. You ever had it? There's only
Scottish food.
There's only one, but it's right off the highway.
I'll tell you this. No. My dad knows about McDonald's. The number of times we hit the McDonald's drive-through as kids. Oh yeah. He loves, and that is one thing I inherited from him that I am not happy about is my love of the McDonald's drive-through. Yeah. Anyway, a small tangent. Anyway, back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay, we're almost done with phase 1. Captain America: The First Avenger is next, and it features the Red Skull, played by Hugo Weaving.
Yeah, Red Skull is fun. I don't think he's
used to come back.
Oh, really? Is that why it's another? There's the actor that plays Red Skull in Infinity War. There was something cool about that actor. I want to look this person up.
He's first of all, he does a really good vocal impression.
Mm-hmm. Is that the thing? He was like a voiceover guy that I liked?
No, I think I want to say he's from The Walking Dead, but I don't know if that's true. I cannot remember his name, and the internet is literally failing me right now.
Ross Marquand. That's
there you go.
Name.
Ross Marquand. Thank you.
Yeah.
What else do I know? He's from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So he was great. Fills it in. Sounds just like him. The Red Skull's a really interesting character in Marvel lore. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he in the comics, he survives and is a constant thorn in the side of Captain America.
Do you think that he is because they couldn't just make Hitler the bad guy? Do you think it's like we need a slightly supernatural, way more powerful version of Hitler to be the nemesis for Captain America?
I think when Captain America came back in the 60s that people were less likely to want a drawn Hitler in their comic books constantly. Mm-hmm. Not that anybody's clamoring for it now.
Right.
But also you want someone who is an actual like super powered bad guy. You want someone who you think is a challenge to your hero. Mm-hmm. Right? And someone who matches him in some way.
So where does he fit? Like he fits all these boxes pretty well. Like the strength of his performance, Hugo Weaving's great. His villainy he's very high on the villainy scale.
Yes.
He's very low on the complexity scale.
Yeah.
It's like because evil.
Yeah, it's much more interesting what he becomes, what his eternal punishment is.
Yeah, it's fun to watch him in Infinity War. You're like, oh, that dude. Oh, I'm glad he's being punished.
And the one thing I wish existed, even as a deleted scene, is Captain America going to return the Soul Stone. Because at the end of Endgame, he goes to return all the stones to their timeline at the moment they were taken, which would include the Soul Stone being returned
to Red Skull.
Yeah, to the Red Skull. He would have to encounter the Red Skull, and he would know who it was.
Was that a cut scene?
I don't think it was ever filmed. I think they just assumed, like, yeah, it probably happened, but he just went and did his job. So it's just an interesting thing because you never really see the Red Skull. I knew when I watched the Avengers, I was like, well, something happened. He wasn't killed. Mm-hmm. You see a portal open, you see space above him, and then he's transported away. You don't see ashes. You don't see any proof he was taken out. So it was satisfying to see him return. Mm-hmm. And he is an iconic villain, but I think he's pretty far from the best one in the MCU.
I think he's more iconic in the comic books than he is in the MCU.
Yeah.
All right. What's next? That's the end of phase 1. Yeah.
Yes. Iron Man 3 is up next.
One of the greatest villains.
Aldrich Killian aka who claims to be the Mandarin, although we know he's not because the actual Mandarin will be showing up in Shang-Chi later on.
What is Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi is a martial arts villain, or martial arts hero, rather.
Oh, they're making oh, cool.
And the Mandarin will be in that film. So we'll get to see the actual Mandarin, because we get the fake Mandarin. In
the fake Mandarin is one of my favorites because he's so gloriously a Marvel villain. And then when you find out that it's just an actor, it's so funny. I thought that was a great twist.
Iron Man 3 is such a polarizing movie. People either love it or hate it. It does subvert a lot of MCU stuff. It's got the action, but he spends most of his time not in the suit. Mm-hmm. The villain is kind of odd. They do the Extremis storyline, but not really. I love it. I think it's great. I love the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a top villain because he's not particularly complex.
That's true.
It's a great performance.
You know what it is? It is a great performance of the Mandarin by the actor that Ben Kingsley is playing in the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whatever that actor's name is pretty good at playing the Mandarin.
Oh, you mean Ben Kingsley? Or,
no. I mean,
Guy Pearce?
No, the actor.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
That Ben Kingsley is playing.
Yeah. That version of the Mandarin is fun and scary. And if we're going on strength of performance, the strength of performance delivered by the actor that Ben Kingsley is playing, is a good performance. But Guy Pearce turns out to be the ultimate baddie in that one.
Yes.
And is a lot of fun. But again, just like, there are so many villains in these that are rich suits that like we can kind of just put all the rich suits to the side. And that's Obadiah. That's Hammer, as much as I love him. That's Guy Pearce's character in this.
Yes. Aldrich Killian.
Again,
great comic book name.
Yeah. Right. All right. We got a lot of these movies.
You're right.
We're doing a terrible job of not talking about all of them.
I know. I think we can sort of skip over Malekith, who.
Yeah, Malekith sucks.
Yeah. Through the Dark World. Redeemed as a film thanks to Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
And has, again, great Loki stuff. But Loki's not a villain in that movie.
No.
He is kind of, though, because by the end of the film, he's still there. He's assumed the place of Odin, and you don't know where Odin is.
Yeah. Hal, the show's an hour. We don't have to talk about Malekith.
I'm just saying he comes back fine. Next, this is a good one. We get two bad guys, 2 for 1 in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. We get Alexander Pierce, the secret head of Hydra, as played by Robert Redford.
Really good performance. Classic, wonderful actor, rich suit.
And that movie is amazing, though.
It's very good, but he's a rich suit,
but we also get you want complex.
This one I will put on Mount Rushmore.
You get Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier.
Oh, I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking way later. I'm in the wrong movie.
You're in the wrong Cap movie?
I'm in the wrong. Yeah. What's the one?
You thought it was going to be Helmut Zemo that I was
Helmut
talking
Zemo
about?
is who I thought you were.
That's Civil War.
That's Civil War.
No, this is the reemergence of Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier, a complex character.
Ultimately not a villain, though.
No. But is Loki ultimately a villain? Or is he
Loki is considered more of a villain.
He's a complex person.
I feel like Bucky Barnes
becomes a hero pretty quickly.
He becomes a hero pretty quickly, and also he was previously a hero.
True.
Or a sidekick.
He was brainwashed. His motivation is that he was brainwashed.
Yeah, that's not a complex villain.
Okay.
Like his villainy, he is complex. His villainy is not complex.
Sure. I think that's fair. I think we would call him a hero.
Yeah.
We think of him as a hero and a victim more than we think of him as a villain.
Yeah. And we think of him like just because he is a terrifying badass and you don't know what's going on at the beginning of the movie, that's villainous looking, but he's a good guy.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's move on to the first Guardians of the Galaxy, where we get Ronan the Accuser.
Ronan's fun. I don't think he's fun and he's loud and theatrical, but the fun of that movie isn't the villain. The fun is the crew.
Yes, Lee Pace gives a great performance, though.
Yeah,
my favorite part of the movie is the dance off, where he goes, "What are you doing?" Because he has that really deep voice.
Yeah.
It's just a very, very, funny moment.
Yeah. I feel movie. like he had to play such a straight villain, Like a straight up, here is a bad guy who wants to ethnically cleanse the galaxy.
Yeah.
Because the movie is so fun with the rest of the characters, I feel like they just gave him like, well, you're the villain. You have to say things like, I lied. I remembered your daughter. She cried when I killed her. I'm like, okay, these are just theatrical villain lines.
Yeah.
Like that any villain could say that. Thanos could have said that.
Yeah.
Malekith, even though we, put that ether on a cloth and stuff it in his mouth.
All right. Next, this is an interesting villain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's a top villain. I think he may be the best part of the movie, which is James Spader as Ultron in Avengers Age of Ultron.
I love Ultron. I think he's a really fun villain.
He is a really fun villain. He's got an interesting twist that he's self-learning and is supposed to protect the Earth, but not the people on it. He figures out the best way to protect the planet is to eliminate all of the humans and all life and have it start over.
Sure.
And he's another, a lot of the MCU and the terrible things that happen are the sins of Tony Stark being revisited on the world, that he's responsible for. He's responsible for a lot of bad things, and it tortures him. And this is one of them. This is his ultimate trying to do the right thing, not talking to anybody else. And then you get a murder bot.
Yeah.
That he ropes Bruce Banner into helping him with.
I mean, why would you not consider him a great villain? Because he's an AI and his motivations come from that? Come from pure logic?
I just think that I think that there are clearly better villains to be discussed. I think if we put him in a final, it would be ceremonial as opposed to this guy's got a shot.
That's true. So who do we have in our final right now? We have Loki.
And that's it.
All right.
We only have Loki right now. And I'll tell you who we're not going to be adding is Darren Cross, aka Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man. Corey Stoll does a fine job.
Yeah. Rich dude in a suit.
He's given.
Who he's playing Obadiah and he's playing Tim Roth from the Hulk. It's
that same problem of like, I'm a bad guy who's in a suit that shrinks.
Yeah.
You're a good guy in a suit that shrinks. I'm the bad guy version of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So much of it is just, hey, what would happen if this superpower or technology got in the wrong hands?
Yeah.
So I guess we can lump an entire category of Marvel villains into the wrong hands.
Exactly. Let's get into the right hands, which are the hands of a brief break. And then we're going to go through phase 3 and all 8 million films in it. And we will decide the best MCU villain when we return.
All right.
Listen, I'm a hotshot Hollywood movie producer. You have until I finish my glass of kombucha to pitch me your idea. Go.
All right, it's called Who Shot Ya, a movie podcast that isn't just a bunch of straight white dudes. I'm Iffy Whitey, the new host of the show and a certified BBN.
BBN?
Buff Black Nerd.
I'm Alonzo Duraldi, an elderly gay and legit film critic who wrote a book on Christmas movies.
I'm Drea Clark, a loud white lady from Minnesota.
Each week, we talk about a new movie in theaters and all the important issues going on in the film industry.
It's like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner meets cruising.
And if it helps seal the deal, I can flex my muscles while we record each episode.
I'm sorry, this is a podcast? I'm a movie producer. How did you get in here?
Iffy, quick, start flexing.
Bicep, lats, chest. Who Shot Ya? Dropping every Friday on MaximumFun.org or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm Dave Hill from Show Business. And while I'm not from Canada, my grandfather Clarence Vincent Blake Sr. was, and he wouldn't shut up about it. My grandfather moved on to that great penalty box in the sky way back in the 80s. Still, all these years later, I can't help but wonder, what do we really know about Canada and its people? Which is why my friend Chris Gersbeck and I decided to make So, You're Canadian. Brand new podcast from the Maximum Fun Network, on which I attempt to get to know our neighbors to the north, one Canadian at a time. Coming to Maximum Fun, August 27th. And I'm not sorry.
All right, we're back.
Okay.
Let's get right into it. Captain America Civil War released May 6, 2016. Your bad guy is Helmut Zemo, is played by Daniel Bruhl.
And brilliant. A wounded human with no superpowers except a super smart brain who manipulates Bucky Barnes into doing his bidding. His whole focus, he's not bent on world domination. That's why I love this villain, is that he's not bent on world domination.
Yeah.
He is bent on tearing apart the Avengers. That's what he wants. He
Yes.
wants revenge for the death of his family when, at the end of Ultron, when they lift up a whole city and then drop it. Like that's,
he lost his family and that spurred him to revenge, and he's trying to activate the Winter Soldier in order to create conflict. He is aware that the Winter Soldier is responsible for the death of Tony Stark's parents. So he's chasing the entire film, in addition to sort of setting up the Avengers to tear one another apart, is the proof. He wants the videotape of that happening, which he eventually screens for Cap and Iron Man and the Winter Soldier, leading to that epic battle between the three of them at the end. I want more of him, and there is more of him coming. He will appear in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series on Disney Plus.
Cool.
I wish they would sponsor us, because I am giving them a lot of plugs. So I think we'll get the version of Baron Zemo that's got the actual helmet on, instead of just the helmet being his name.
Oh, I don't know his connection to the comic books.
Yeah, there's a Baron Zemo that's sort of a major baddie. And I think that's what they're priming him to become. Because again, he's another villain. The villains who die right away, with very few exceptions, and there's one who dies who we believe to be dead after his initial film that I think has to be a finalist. But by and large, when they die after one film, you're like, well, that's not in the comics. You want them to survive so they can be a constant thorn in the side of the hero, and they evolve with him and they become worse or bad. Imagine if the Joker had been killed off after his first issue.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have any of what we have now in terms of the number of people who wear shirts with the Joker on it.
So it's Joker is the best villain of the MCU.
Joker's the best. My favorite text from you today. Next, we have Doctor Strange and Caecilius, as played
Mads Mikkelsen.
by Mads Mikkelsen. Good performance.
Yeah,
Again,
great performance. Not the you've also got Dormammu at the end of the movie.
Yeah, we didn't see enough of Dormammu.
Visually cool. Gonna win?
Yeah.
No. Mads Mikkelsen is great.
Yeah,
but
I'm excited for Baron Mordo to return. Chiwetel.
That's the one. Chiwetel Ejiofor. When Baron Mordo comes back bad, that's good. Well, did he come back bad yet?
He was bad at the end of it, because remember he goes back to Benjamin Bratt and takes the magic from him, because he says too many wizards or too many sorcerers, and takes his power from him. So now you have you see him become a villain. You see why he becomes a villain. So he's he could be a Loki level villain in the MCU. And who knows if he factors into the upcoming Doctor Strange and the Madness in the Multiverse, which is the next movie coming out, which I've been told is a horror movie. That's what they said.
Oh, that'll be fun.
A straight up horror film. That's going to be exciting. Next we get, this is going to be a tough one, not to want to put in the final. Kurt Russell as Ego the Living Planet in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Wait a minute. What? All right. Plead your case for Kurt Russell as an evil planet and Chris Pratt's dad.
Let me start with a simple 3-word sentence.
Okay.
It's Kurt Russell.
All right.
That movie is Kurtastically Russellicious on my rating scale.
Yeah, I know.
It is you can tell he's having a really good time. He's not really that complex as a character, and he is a big character.
And I do love that he walks you through a very stylized Disneyland ride tableau version of his backstory and how he is a planet.
Yes.
That scene is pretty fun. And his whole just charm, his charm offensive at the top is so fun.
Yeah.
But come on, man.
I mean, he's pretty bad though. He destroys and kills all of any child of his that can't hold his power. There's an entire just cavern filled with bones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
not saying he's a good guy.
Planet.
Yeah, he is the planet. I realize. He's one of those villains that as soon as you mentioned him, I was like, who? Oh yeah, him.
Yeah, that's fair.
So his general forgettableness. I don't know. I know you love he's Kurtastically Russellicious.
All right, let's move on to a hero with maybe the greatest rogues gallery. Certainly I think the greatest rogues gallery in Marvel Comics. You could put his up against Batman's, I think. in comics overall. That's an interesting discussion to have another time.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, who gets his first movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, in which the bad guy is Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, as played by Michael Keaton.
This one he is great.
Yeah.
Like this, as far as complexity, it's one of those performances where you empathize with him. You know exactly what is happening and why he is doing what he's doing. He's kind of just, if it weren't for the selfishness, he'd be a vigilante.
Yes. Well, I don't, yes, who knows what else he might have become. But again, remember I said that a lot of the villains in the MCU are Tony Stark's fault. This is one of them, that he hates Tony Stark, who took his job away from him.
Yeah.
You know, that opening sequence, it's such a great like motivation for a character, that he had this contract to help clean up New York after the events of the Avengers, and then Damage Control sweeps in, which is Tony Stark providing the cleanup for the messes that Tony Stark makes. And he doesn't have any money, but they start stealing the technology to sell and make weapons. And that's how he provides for his family. And then that becomes something he will protect at all costs, including killing his own villains. But you get the Shocker in that as well. The Tinkerer. They're all kind of there. There's a reference to the Scorpion. You get to meet the Scorpion, but you don't really see him as the Scorpion yet. There's a lot of in this movie that you know that mythology a lot better than I do. So there are, I guess I would call them Easter eggs. Yes.
You would call them first appearances.
I think they are, because at Spider-Man, they do a good job of, Spider-Man's got the Sinister Six, which is kind of a rotating lineup of bad guys that unite against him. And you get a few of them. You get Shocker, who is played by Bokeem Woodbine, who's also very good. You don't really know much about him, just that he's part of the gang. You have the Vulture. You have Scorpion, who's the guy that he throws the car into and knocks off of the boat. Who runs into Michael Keaton in prison in the after credit scene, and has like the technology all over him. That's sort of like through his spine and stuff. That's going to be the basis of his suit. And Mysterio is actually another important member of the Sinister Six. So, you know, hopefully it would be nice to see all of them together. We're only missing a few.
But let's talk about the villains that we currently have. We've only got an hour and we have 27 movies to get through.
Vulture is fantastic.
Vulture is great. I would put Vulture in the finals.
I want to see more. I want to see more of him, but yeah, I'm willing to put him in the finals. I do think it's a great performance. His relationship with Spider-Man is interesting because
their scene in the car is amazing.
Yeah, that's great. He obviously hates Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a thorn in his side. Peter's just a kid. And when he figures that out, now he's in this weird place where he hates Peter, but Peter saved his family.
Right.
So he kind of owes him.
Yeah, that's the complexity. That's the scene in the car of the like, well, we are an immovable object and an unstoppable force. So how do we fix this?
Yeah.
Just get out of my way.
Yep.
If the movie had just ended right there.
Right.
And Spider-Man was like, okay. Can I date your daughter?
Can I stop being Spider-Man?
Yeah. I'm in high school. I will stop being Spider-Man and date your daughter because that is what is important.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Thor Ragnarok and Cate Blanchett chewing up scenery as Hela. Great movie. I don't think she's a top villain.
I don't think she's a top villain, but she is amazingly cool in that movie.
Yeah.
It's one of those like, I feel like whoever's going to be our top villain is not going to be a one movie villain. Which, you know, kind of leaves two of them that are really the two.
Then Vulture doesn't even belong in the finals.
Yeah,
right?
but I want to put Vulture in the finals just because I really like him.
Okay, moving on.
We'll eliminate him immediately, probably.
We have another finalist.
But Cate Blanchett, that scene where she just takes down their entire army. She's brilliant. Like,
yes,
she's such a great actor and a great, the performance is there. The importance to the MCU story might not be there in its entirety.
She's not, she leads to the destruction of Asgard. She creates some inciting events which bring us to where we are in Infinity War. But before we get to Infinity War, we take a brief stop for another top contender, Eric Killmonger, in Black Panther.
This will be, this completely throw what I just said out the window.
Yeah.
About single movie villains. Killmonger is perfect.
Yeah, he's super complex. It's a great, Michael B. Jordan feels like one of those actors that gets a lot of work, but people don't talk enough about how good he is.
Yeah.
Like we should be talking about how great he is all the time, everywhere.
Yeah. Also, you probably have a affinity for him because he played a Philadelphian.
That's right. Well, he's great in Creed. Well, he goes to Philadelphia. He's raised in Los Angeles.
All right.
Yeah, he's great as Creed. Great actor overall, but this role in particular, he's ruthless. He kills another villain in Ulysses Claw, who another interesting villain that we didn't really get to see a lot of, but who was great.
A lot of fun. My favorite Ulysses Claw moment is when they're in a car chase and he turns to the guy driving and goes, "Turn some music on. What do you think this is, a funeral?"
Yeah, it's so good.
Like the idea that he turns on music in a car chase is so fun. Michael B. Jordan in this movie, his performance in this movie actually made me love his performance in Creed even more.
Really?
And I will tell you why. Because when I first saw Creed, that was the first time I saw Michael B. Jordan, and I was like, is this the new style of acting that's happening now? Like where he's just kind of mumbly and everything is done under his breath and he's quiet, just, kind of a soft-spoken palooka. And then I was like, oh, I guess maybe that's just Michael B. Jordan's style. And then I saw Killmonger.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no, he's just a great actor. Wait a minute. He was doing Rocky because Rocky was a soft-spoken palooka who mumbled all his lines.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh my God, Michael B. Jordan was just shouting out to Sylvester Stallone in his performance as Apollo Creed's son.
Mm-hmm.
As Killmonger, he's this charismatic, loud, verbose guy. And it just made me love that performance. It made, like, when one performance in a movie makes me love two movie performances.
Yeah. He's such a complex
such
villain.
a good villain. And he's kind of right. Like, he's so much so that his death happens, which is a beautiful, beautiful scene. And Black Panther, kind of picks up the mantle of what Killmonger was trying to do and starts doing it, but in the non-villainy way.
Yeah. That his last line of Black Panther where he says, "Bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who jumped from the ships because they knew death was better than bondage." That's like, holy crap. If that doesn't, that makes me emotional now.
Yeah.
But this idea of the African diaspora and, this fictional country and what to do, what you would do if you had the tools that Wakanda has.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a complex sociological movie. It's such an important movie. Obviously right now it stands as the best MCU movie the last time we updated.
It still stands as the best MCU movie.
Yeah. Nothing has knocked it off its perch. And we won't revisit it for a few years anyway, just to check in as we need to do. But, oh man, what a villain.
It's going to be tough.
Fantastic.
It's going to be tough because the next one we have introduces another major player.
Yes. Someone who's been in the background, who appeared briefly at the very end of Avengers and then again had his first speaking lines as played by Josh Brolin in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Mm-hmm. And that is Thanos the Mad Titan, who, as far as villainy goes, I think he's as far on the scale as possible.
See, I disagree with.
Yeah.
Because he does not think he is a villain. He is, by nature of his randomizer, that he is going to randomly eliminate half of the universal population of species in order to, and he's doing it for what he thinks is good. Now, I don't know why someone didn't just whisper in his ear, "Hey, why don't you snap your fingers and make twice as many resources?"
Don't you think, that's been brought up, but he's singularly focused. Once he thinks he has the idea, then that is the only idea. Isn't any great villain someone who doesn't think that they're a villain though?
That is, honestly, from theater school. Acting 101, specifically
Yeah.
Shakespeare 101.
Yeah,
No
so-
villain thinks they're a villain.
So none of these villains think that they're the bad
That's
guy.
true.
They all.
But
have
I
the
guess
same
he was
thing.
the only one that I was like, well, he's got a point.
Well, exactly. Well, that makes him a very compelling villain.
But so does Killmonger. Killmonger's got a point.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, the best villains, you can kind of see where they're coming from. Loki, I didn't have the same experience that Loki had growing up as the bastard son, to find out later, but like, I get it, dude. You know what I mean?
Yes. But he does do the unthinkable, which is make half of the universe disappear.
Yes. So that
His villainy is off
his
the
villain,
scale.
his villainy. Yeah. In that regard.
He is
Is off the
overpowered
charts.
beyond overpowered, and that it is almost impossible to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think of how many different people come close,
Yeah.
and it's an axe to the chest doesn't kill him.
Mhm.
Captain America wielding Thor's hammer can't kill him. All these, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, half of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Iron Man together can't defeat him.
Mm-hmm.
So he really provides probably the greatest challenge. He's the greatest challenge of any of these villains.
Yeah.
To them, in that he is almost impossible to kill.
Mm-hmm.
When Thor kills him, he's weakened, and also his job is done.
Yeah.
So he sees himself as a holy warrior, and once his job is
Who
finished,
is completed. Yeah. Now he can just go be in peace. He doesn't want any more
exactly
than what his task was.
exactly.
Yeah, I guess though, partly the one thing I think that will take this down a little notch for me on that selfishness scale, or on that villainy scale is his lack of selfishness. He is completely misguided. And I guess there is selfishness in the thought process of I'm the only one who is right.
Mm-hmm.
And and he even says that, I think, in one of the movies. He's like, why does nobody understand this but me?
Yeah.
And that is selfishness, but it's not like I want this thing for me and I'm going to go get it, which I guess is what puts him up on the pantheon, because we've eliminated very quickly all of the villains that just wanted a thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's willing in Endgame to sacrifice his own people to get nothing is more important than his mission.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells them to rain fire, and they're like, our troops, and he says, do it. So he doesn't care who dies as long as he gets the stones.
Yeah. Yeah. He's bad.
He's pretty bad.
Strength of performance is an interesting one, because this is a mocap performance,
but it's still like you can see pretty much everything that Josh Brolin was doing,
which is weird.
Is fantastic.
The mocap is fantastic because it's a subtle performance.
Yeah.
It's a subtle performance that somehow got captured by mocap. Like motion capture can catch, big sweeping moves and things like that very easily. But the fact that they had the technology to do that and still give him that weird purple scrotum chin. But maybe this is just me. For me personally, I think he's wonderful. I think he's an amazing, he is the ultimate villain of the entire MCU so far.
Yeah.
Everything has been leading to him. Everything has been leading to this.
And he doesn't disappoint when he shows up.
So his importance to the story is a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know I think I have to ding a little bit on the strength of the performance, simply because it was a subtle performance that is done through mocap. And I, for my villains, like a live human being gobbling up scenery and being I almost just swore on the show.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And just being a flashy, that's the word I was going to say.
Yeah.
A flashy villain. You know what I mean? Like, it's a comic book movie. I don't need a silent brooder who just walks, like he doesn't have to be flashy. He just walks into a scene and you're terrified. Whereas Killmonger rips his shirt off. He's got all these like little he's got all these scars, nicks all over his body to mark his kills. And then you watch him do some insane battle sequences.
Yeah. I think if Thanos had walked into every room like, hey, everybody, look at me. I'm gonna destroy the universe. Just half of it. I think you would have been disappointed. I love a scenery chewing villain as well.
But even you can even chew scenery in a fight scene, and his fight scenes are just like a brute in a fight scene is not as fun to watch as a live little Spider-Man is.
I agree with you, but I will add that he did exactly what he was exactly
Yeah,
what
he
that
was
movie
correct.
needed. Like he was Thanos.
Yeah.
Thanos doesn't care about it.
Look, we have to pick one, and I am looking simply at little nitpicky things.
Right, but
because I will say this now. By the way, is it anyone after Thanos going to win? Who do we have? We have Mysterio and
we have Jan Rog from we have Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Jan Rog from Captain Marvel. Yeah, neither of them are going to win.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Sorry.
So it feels like it's down to, and we can eliminate Vulture, I think.
Yeah.
Even though it was a great complex performance, it seems like our final three are Loki, Thanos, and Killmonger.
Yes. The only final three we could have logically come to.
All right. So here's what I want to do for us to do this. We've never done this before.
New?
A new thing.
New segment.
Because, I want to do this Iron Chef style. Meaning,
have them all cooked.
Meaning we have our criteria. You get a 1 through 5, and then we combine the totals and we see who wins.
Okay.
All right.
So, okay. We're like Olympic judges.
We're like Olympic judges now.
All right.
All right.
I'm interested to pilot this new program, and I hope it works
great
for future episodes.
All right. So let's talk first about Thanos, since we're on Thanos.
Yeah, let's do it.
1 through 5. Strength of performance, I'm giving a 4.
I would give him a 5.
All right. A 4 and a 5.
Oh, wait.
So that's 9.
Should I be writing this down?
Yes.
Hold on. Give me so much work.
I know.
Work. Okay. Performance.
You say 5, I say 4. That's a 9. Importance to the story. 5.
Yes.
Villainy. I'm going to say 4.
I'm going to give him a 5.
And complexity. I'm going to say 4.
I'm going to give him.
He's not terrible. He is singular focus.
I'm going to give him a 3.
But he does have his daughter.
Yeah.
So that, you know what? I'm going to put complexity at 3 with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
All right. Next, let's look at Loki.
Okay.
Strength of performance, 5.
Yep.
Importance to the story. I'm going to say 5 as well.
Yep.
Villainy, I'm going to give him a 3.
I'm going to give him, you know what? I'm going to give him a 5.
On villainy?
Yeah, he hides his father and takes his place. He's trying to subjugate the entire planet Earth.
Thanos wants to kill him. Oh, all right.
He tries to kill his own brother repeatedly.
Yeah, all right. And complexity is a 5.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at these numbers, so when you say people of the world, I will find out then.
Okay.
All right, Killmonger.
Performance 5.
5.
Importance 5.
5. Villainy 3. He does a lot of bad things. This is all a relative scale. But how? You're saying all the villainous things that he and Loki have done. Yeah, but compared to every other MCU villain,
I think you have to look at it in context, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once he becomes the rule, I mean, first of all, he's killing anybody and everybody in his path to become the king. Once he does, he starts turning on his own people. Like he goes where the heart-shaped herb is grown and has them burn it all down so nobody can have powers after him.
Look, you can give me a lot of details. I get it.
All right, I'm just giving you my number. I'm saying I'm defending my number.
I know, no, I believe you, and I'm defending mine.
Complexity is a 5.
Complexity is a 5.
So would you please give me your totals for each?
I didn't. I thought you were totaling them.
Oh, I was totaling mine.
I'm not writing them. Hal, you said I'm getting a piece of paper and I'm writing this down. That's why I said I'm not writing anything down. I will find out at the end when you do. All right, Hal, have you tallied up our trial run of the Iron Chef rules of We Got This?
I have.
All right.
And I can tell you right now that Thanos has not won with a combined score of 34 out of a possible 40.
Mm-hmm.
Loki, who I gave full marks to, and you gave partial marks to, scored a 38 out of a possible 40. And Killmonger scored out of a possible 40, a 38. It is a tie.
Oh, no!
Your system has betrayed you, Mark.
Well, all right. Well, then it's a tie.
No, it cannot be a tie. We have to decide the best.
So we have 3 finalists. We have Thanos, Loki, and Killmonger.
Yeah, why don't we just do a 1, 2, 3?
Really?
Let's just do a 1, 2, 3. I think it might be simple.
After all of this talk about we spent more time talking about Malekith than we did going through the finer points of the 3 finalists. You want to just go straight into the...
I mean, do you want to talk? Look, here, I feel like Killmonger is super important. Thanos is important because he wipes out half of all life.
Right.
He's the big baddie behind
everything.
all of, everything. And he drives the end of what's been called the Infinity Saga, which is the first 22, 23 films. That they put out.
Jeez, it sounds exhausting to say. Okay, the first 22 or 23 movies that we make, usually if someone's talking about 22, it's a season of television and they don't leave an apartment.
Yeah, he is like the ultimate big bad. I think he lacks the complexity. I think they tried to give him complexity. In the comics, he's doing it all because he's fallen in love with death, which has a physical manifestation.
Right. A skeleton lady who is not that hot.
Don't know what you say. Look, if it works, look, he has a nutsack for a chin. She's all bones. They make it work.
Look, I get it.
But in this one, they create this thing of like, well, it's resources, and he thinks he somehow in a twisted way thinks he's doing the right thing, even though he's doing it the wrong way. And you can easily point to, like we talked about, why not just double all the resources? But he's got this idea and he's locked into it, which doesn't feel like as strong a motivation. Yeah. Killmonger's got incredible motivation, and so does Loki.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't like the mocap aspect of it, that dings the performance a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're beyond that. I mean, look at the stuff Andy Serkis did.
Sure.
Playing
and that's
Gollum.
still, but look, like I said, these are really hard, and I'm just looking for the slightest edge.
I think for me, what makes Loki stand out is how many different levels he has as a character, how he's good and bad and good and bad. You never really know if you can trust him or not.
Yeah, he's also had the most time for us to fall in love with him.
Yeah, and he's the reason why the Avengers form.
Mm-hmm.
He is the inciting incident that brings the Avengers together. Yes, Thanos gives him the Mind Stone, but the Avengers don't come together if not for him. In the comics as well, they come together to fight Loki.
Sure.
He is a very important character, not only in the comics universe, but in the cinematic universe as well. And important enough and revered enough that he's getting his own Disney Plus series that people are super excited about. Like, they want more Loki.
Right.
So I think that would be my argument for him. I think I love Killmonger. I love Michael B. Jordan's performance. It's super layered. The character has the right motivation, and it's two sides of an argument rather than he's necessarily, he's coming from a hurt place. He's seen things taken away from him, and he's grown up outside of the sheltered world of Wakanda that T'Challa has. So everything's colored him, and he is a bad, bad man. They are all bad. Their villainous deeds are all terrible.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about if Loki was only in one movie, I would say Killmonger all the way. But Loki has popped up throughout the entire MCU, and was the catalyst for the first Avengers movie. Or not the catalyst, maybe the catalyst. I don't know if I'm using words correctly.
Yeah.
It's very early in the morning.
No, you're right.
But, so however you want to do this, it's Loki.
Yeah. You want to 1, 2, 3 it just to make it official?
Yeah, you don't have to convince me, Hal. I like Loki. I feel like you've decided that I'm an anti-locust.
I do tend
you don't have to plead a case. We're not the lawyers. We're the Supreme Court here.
Okay. Well,
so stop lawyering for Loki. It's gonna be Loki. I was already on Team Loki. 1, 2, 3, Loki.
All right, Loki. Great. People of the world. It's Loki. Everybody's
What an inelegant ending.
Everybody's favorite identity-stealing trickster bastard god who suffers from, a lot of different syndromes. So many different ones. He's just it's a master performance. It carries and grows across all the movies in which he appears, and that does benefit him, but there's a reason why they come back to that character over and over again. He's not just evil Thor. He is his own being, and watching him mature and get worse and get better and struggle with his identity is fascinating to see. And that is why he is, at this point, could update later, the best MCU villain asked and answered.
That's right. Thank you for the topic. This topic is closed, but we have many more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us on Twitter at We Got This Tweets. Check out the Maximum Fun subreddit, or
you can email us at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or go to our Facebook group. Talk about your favorite MCU villains. That is facebook.com/groups/We Got This Podcast. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks as always to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song respectively. And thanks to you, our listeners, the people of the world, for giving us a chance to sit here and talk about our favorite things. One of them being the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thank you. That's it. No more bits. Just thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned, audience supported.